Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on, what's the date? September 6th, 2023. And how am I going to start out today? I'm going to say that there's this baloney statistic that only 7% of your communications are due to, the audio, what you actually say, and everything is all about the visuals, blah, 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 blah. That's so much garbage. One guy came up with this experiment a zillion years ago that's been recycled again and again by people who really don't know anything about it, okay? But I read recently something that makes a lot more sense to me, okay? And it's this. It says phone without any video is a much better means of communication. It's much more intimate. And you know why? I'm going to tell you. It's going to make perfect sense to you as soon as I say it. It's this, because it takes all sorts of visual concerns out of the picture. You can relax. You don't have to worry if you've got a good image behind you, if your clothes are nice, if you're ugly, okay, or if your hair looks terrible. None of that stuff counts, okay? I've always noticed that I feel fine with people on the phone. I don't have to see them to get a good sense of what they've done, who they are, all that stuff, okay? So take it from me. Phone conversations are better than video conversations. They take a big load off your shoulders, okay? That's the first thing I want to talk about on this show. And now I'm going to move over to a second topic, okay? This guy sent me a message today on LinkedIn, and he used he lives in my city. So he used this old pickup line on me. He says, I think we've met somewhere before, but I can't remember where, okay? I haven't met anybody for the last 3 years, okay? Since COVID started, I haven't met a soul, okay? I never meet anyone anyway. Actually, I do all my work on the phone. And as I just told you, I don't really like video. I like video for the show, I got to admit, because we can make all kinds of faces, and it's just supposed to be humorous, okay? We can do all kinds of things. But I'd rather talk on the phone if I'm interviewing a client or a candidate. So I didn't meet this guy. I never heard of him. He wants to sell me something. I'm positive, okay? So what I'm going to say, yeah, I think we did meet back at Comdex in 1995 at the Metro Convention Center. Remember that? Yeah. Remember what you said? I remember it very well. Okay. And I'll tell him all kinds of things he told me at that time. Richie Rosen's here. I'm going to tell him all kinds of things he told me at that time, and none of them are going to be true. And from the looks of it, maybe I was talking to his parents, because I don't know if he was born back then. Okay? Richie Rosen.
What's happening?
America's recruiter. You know what? I gave someone some advice yesterday on LinkedIn. I said, I use the Blue Bell Snow, whatever it is. The mic I use, someone else was recommending it. I say, yeah, I use it too, because I just have one hanging around here. And I said, but the problem is when I raise my voice, it conks out, okay? So I said, don't raise your voice. I kind of think she won't raise her voice, okay?
Maybe not.
What do you have to say to me, Rich? You got something important to start out with?
No, I only got a few minutes, so I wanted to say hi. That was it.
No. Okay, well, say something if you're only going to be here for a few minutes.
What would you like me to tell you?
You know what? You said something that I actually put here, something I wanted to argue about. You said tech hiring managers don't know how to sell jobs, okay? And here's my question. Wouldn't they know better than a recruiter who doesn't understand the job, Rich Rosen?
I'm not exactly sure that's exactly what I said. I said tech managers, any manager that doesn't know how to sell the job is probably more what I said.
No, that's not what he said.
My managers are generally startup guys. They know how to sell. So, but the ones that don't, you just run to a buzzsaw. They're just like they don't have any energy. There's no passion. I mean, usually they're shitty jobs that you shouldn't have taken to begin with. But
how do you know they're shitty jobs? Because and how do you know that? Okay, first of all, everybody, I know this because I edited that one, okay? And it was a lot of work because I put a few different people's conversations together, and I wanted to get Rich's words in there. So they're imprinted on my mind. I watched it 50 times, okay? Okay, so you said there's two different guys. There's a CEO. I know what you said. I know why I loved it. Or, oh yeah, you said it on your ad. You said they have to know about the leadership. That's what you told us. And then when he did an ad for a job, he said the leadership here, they've taken lots of companies to the promised land before. Okay, that's a line Rich used to use when he was still dating before he was married.
You make a joke.
Anyway, okay, so that's how we came to it. So Rich, okay, so you said, okay, you need a leadership that can sell, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. But then you differentiated them. You said they're usually pretty good at it, but there's these techies who can't sell. But I'm saying they know the job, they understand it, they can sell it way better than me.
But knowing it and being able to sell it is two different things. Like, when you get a guy that goes and say you get a guy that does a presentation, like we had a Pinnacle, we had a presentation from a software company yesterday for some, automation tech. It was like literally they were just handing out Ambien. The guy was so fucking boring, pardon the French. He was just it was just monotone reading, no excitement, no energy. It was horrible. All right. So, you guy may know his product inside and out. But if he can't get his message across and he can't have any energy, who cares?
Okay, so I know he's always big on, he's consistently saying recruiters have to put some energy into their presentations. So you're saying that the hiring managers, the interviewers have to do that as well. But that's not what I'm talking about, Richie Rich.
But the hiring managers, the people you're going to go work for. Again, I do sales guys. Like you do techies and engineers, different story maybe. But for salespeople, no one wants to go work with boring Bob, They want to go work with, someone that's got some energy, some charisma to them, someone you can bring in front of a client. They're going to get the client excited about the value of what we're selling and what we can provide for your company and the problems we're going to solve. And if we just say, hey, listen, our software does, I don't know, it does some shit you love. You're not going to be that excited about it. But if you say, listen, I can solve this problem, we stop this leak from happening, and we can bring this much more money into your company, we can stop this and help that and grow this, that's going to be a whole lot more exciting, and that's part of it. But that's a sales job. Engineers, they could be a little bit more boring.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, you know what? I don't like people who put me to sleep either, and I wouldn't want to work necessarily for boring Bob either. But but Rich, just what you said about these leaders who have to be able to sell like that, I can see a tech manager talking to a developer, saying the same thing. This is what we're going to do. This is why it's interesting. And he or she understands all of what he's talking about. Whereas the recruiter doesn't really know, what it means. Okay, so.
But that's a good recruiter maybe understands more than the average bad recruiter.
Okay. I noticed in your ad, it was all puff. Okay. There was nothing really in it that was substantial. Okay.
You know why I put those ads in there? Those ads are purely just marketing. I don't really care about that. It's so rare that I get the quality candidate that comes in, but hiring managers see my name. They see the ad, candidates see it. People I like, people that know me, people, they tell two friends, they tell two friends. It's rare that I actually get the guy out for that, to be honest with you.
Okay, so the thing is, though, I remember when I've seen you do a video before, and it was a boring Bob style. Okay, this was very lively, and I even picked up a great line from it. I'm going to take you to the promised land. Okay, I felt like singing a song when I heard that. Okay, so that's what Rich says, everybody. Now, he turned it around. He saved the day. I mean, I thought I was going to rip him to pieces. Okay, but I should have known better. He's America's recruiter, and he said, you got to have clients who have some life in them, okay? Or they're going to bore the candidate to death. But now that bring it up, your candidate can't be boring Bob either, can he?
Not at all. I lost the candidate today. He was at 2 in the final. Guy lost out in the interview because he was kind of stiff and rigid, took too long to find his flow. So the client's like, he won't pass the final. He won't pass the final VP interview.
He was too slow to find his flow. I like that. What does that mean? Like the patter,
Yeah, he just like he spent too much time trying to figure out the cadence to the conversation, and because he was doing a demo, like a pitch to the client, and he was just took too long to find his cadence. He didn't ask valuation, value-based selling questions. He was just doing feature function stuff and got caught up in that instead of everything else. And it's too bad because the guy did great prep, did great everything, but but didn't deliver.
What could you have done to avoid that?
I looked at, I thought I was thinking about that. It wasn't for me personally I'm not sure what else I could have done, because I told him the day before, you got to be able to do X, Y, and Z. You got to deliver. You got to have the energy. You got to have passion. You got to, if you just read off, I always, so many reps and sellers, they'll build a slide deck and they'll put 20 different things on the slide deck. What time is it? 20 different things on the slide deck, and then just read them to people. And no one wants to be read to. No one wants a bedtime story. So, I'm like, you get one slide for every 5 minutes, and here's your bullet points, and then you drive, you got to drive on that, and make it exciting, get everyone in the room engaged. So, that's the coaching I give for those presentations. And
okay, but obviously your coaching didn't work. Should you have said, "Look, Billy, talk to me for 5 minutes about"?
Like Larry Bird sucks because he missed the basket. I'm like, listen, you can only do so much.
No, you could have said, give me an example of what you're going to do. Sell me a pencil, okay? And then say, you know what? Remember I told you about having any energy? You don't have any, okay? And let's go through it again. I'm going to coach you so that you don't go off on you don't read me a list. I can't believe there's salespeople that you've actually cleared for interviews, Rich.
This was the fourth interview. This was the fourth interview. It wasn't the first call. It was a fourth interview.
The fourth interview, and they couldn't tell in the first three that he was a dullard.
This is the problem. This is why you do presentations. So many sellers, they look great, they sound great, and this guy is great. He's a great rep. He just didn't present well. People oftentimes choke on these presentations and interviews. They get nervous. This guy was a Green Beret, for Christ's sake, and he was still he just didn't do well. He's a great rep too. It's too bad.
Really? And so hold on a second. Didn't you go back to your client and say, look, we got to take a second look. Let me talk to this guy, bring him back. But didn't you do that?
Yeah. And they're like, hey, listen, we just, that's not what we do. And I'm like,
they said, look, if he was a SEAL, we saw G.I. Jane, he was had to roll around in the water for, a half an hour. We would take him back for a second try. But he's only a Green Beret,
We got only a Green Beret. Those pansies, God. Now we'll see. If this other guy, if the other guy in the final fails, which I don't think he will, then we'll probably be able to bring him back for a second.
You know what? I got to tell you, I just am surprised. I think I would, with the fourth interview for the guy who I believe was excellent, I would fight to take him back first. Don't just rule him out. There's got to be more than something's gone wrong. There's something I don't understand it.
But this is the problem. When you're placing sales guys, they've all do these presentations. They've all, this guy happens to be very good and did everything else right, but it's the screen, it's the major screening bar that they go through, and if they deliver flat, he had three strikes against him on this presentation, basically, is really what it amounted to. But if you're, this is how people screen. It's like, this is your chance to shine and show what you're going to do best and how you're going to work a deal. And I may have to do all the steps, but when you get to the presentation, you can't present, or you don't do the style they like. It's a huge.
Let me ask you one more question. Why was that left to the fourth interview? Why didn't they test that in the first one?
Because it's a lot of prep work for these candidates.
Oh, okay. He didn't have even the materials until.
They only give you most companies only give you like a few days to prepare, and it's not like this is a 25-minute presentation. It's not like 6-hour long prezzo. It's basically you give a specific case study they give you to do, and it's a huge knockout factor. Like I used to do a ton of work for Tableau, a big software company. I did it when they were small, and they lost so many A players because of this stupid this stupid demonstration that you do. And every company does. I mean, it makes sense to do them. But like Tableau lost, they were one of my favorite clients, but also one of my toughest clients, because so many people get knocked out, with this presentation. So it's a pretty common
Okay,
thing to do.
let me turn to David M. Marr. Are you awake, David M. Marr, in heaven there? Yeah, I don't want to ask you if you're busy. Okay, he's busy. Okay, I just wanted to give him a chance to disagree with you, Rich. How much time do you have? Okay, how much time do you have, Rich?
I'm here.
Thanks. We woke up. Okay. Are you good? I want to narrow what you say. Okay. First of all, don't be a boring Bob. Take Richie Rich's advice. Put some energy into it. Okay. When you answer, Rich says that technical people, engineers, are not good interviewers because they tend to be boring. Okay.
I think that's.
Didn't you just say that?
No.
I think that's
you
a
know what?
stereotype, but there are some amazing engineers that have phenomenal communication skills, just as good as executives or salespeople.
And better than the animal.
That doesn't much. I'll admit. I am.
Especially when I ask
them,
hey Betty, hey Susie, hey Billy.
Cool. What's wrong with that? Those are real names. Okay. Now, hold on. Let me quote this back to you because I think that you were here for that conversation I was referring back to. Rich said tech hiring managers don't know how to sell jobs. Okay. And
That's
we were just talking.
what I said. That's not what I said. I said boring. Well, I don't even remember what I said.
No,
but I
you just said I'm in sales. Then he qualified. He says, "Well, I'm in sales. Maybe these other engineers,
Maybe. Yeah, but again, not a blanket statement. I said boring people are boring. I don't know what exactly I said. Boring people don't sell well. Was the point that good interviewers are going to have energy? Good interview candidates are going to have energy. It doesn't matter what you're selling, but technical folks tend not to have the same, as a whole, don't have the same drive as the sellers, the go-to-market folks.
The same oomph, the same
Exactly.
oomph. Okay,
Exactly.
But okay. So here's the question for David M. Marr. Okay, I was saying a tech manager should be able to sell the job to a developer, for instance, much better than a recruiter because she understands what's involved, what's interesting, and she can point to a lot of specifics. Also, where the valuable learning can go, all those things. What do you say? And remember, no boring Bobism on this. Don't get stuck in the weeds. Just give me a nice, lively answer.
In my experience, there are more hiring managers that aren't able to sell on the tech side, but at Indeed, most recently we had some phenomenal engineering managers that sold very good.
Okay, so no. So hold on a second. Let me stop you. You agreed with what Rich is denying right now, that most tech guys, he's agreeing with you, Rich. I don't know what's wrong with you. He's agreeing with what you said, that tech hiring managers don't know how to sell jobs. Dave Marr says the exact same thing. Why do you say that, Dave?
I don't say it. So I'm not saying all, right? I said.
You said most. Okay.
I hear all. He just said the word all. He means everyone.
No, everyone under the sun, every profession, every industry, even recruiters.
Yeah.
No, I would say if you want to break it down percentage wise, I would say it's probably 60-40. 60 know how to do it. 40% don't.
That's the opposite of what he said 2 minutes ago. Okay.
All right. I got to jump to my 12:30. I just wanted to say hi. So.
Okay. Thank you, Rich.
All right. See you guys.
Appreciate it. Talk to you later. Come back if you want to. The show's going on for a while.
All
David M. Marr. Okay. David M. Marr, still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So what is it about these technical job hiring managers that keeps them from doing a great job? Because as I said, they understand the technical stuff. They should be able to tell the candidate why it's going to be fun, what they're going to learn, where it's going to take them down the road a year from now. Why are they unable? Where are they falling apart?
So I think it boils down to most of them are more analytical and more introverted. And in the tech space, there's a lot of egos, and depending upon the culture of the company, I think that basically contributes to why they can't sell.
You said nothing. Okay. You said nothing. Okay. Well, what does ego have to do with it? Okay. You just mentioned ego. What does that have to do with their keeping them from? Because
they don't know. Because of the ego, they only talk about it from their perspective. They don't talk about it of why somebody that's foreign to the company wants to come in. articulate well, like why they should join. Basically,
So
the
hold
selling
on. The
point.
tech manager doesn't say, "Hey, Susie, this is going to be a lot of fun for you because this technical stuff is very interesting." The hiring manager doesn't say that. Is that what you're telling me, David M. Marr?
In some cases, yes.
In some cases, he thinks he's quality. He thinks he's more truthful when he puts that little qualifier in front of it. Well, what is it they say? If they don't say, "Susie, it's a lot of fun," and I'm going to tell you exactly why, what do they say instead of that?
They'd say something like, "Hey, Susie, in my experience, this is why I joined the company. Here's what I get to do. Here's what this team does." But they don't go into the benefits of why from the other person's perspective. They talk about it from their perspectives. So like first person versus if you were to join, you would be able to work on these types of problems and, collaborate with these really smart people that have PhDs and have built all this stuff.
Okay. You know what, Dave? I have to tell you that the example you gave to start off with, that's something recruiters are begging hiring managers to talk about all the time. This is why I joined the company. This is why it's good. To speak from their own experience. That's something they should do. Am I right or wrong about that?
Hiring managers should absolutely be selling, especially if they are
based on their own experience. This is
Correct.
why I joined, and this is why I'm still here. Okay, and you can have that too. That's what they're saying, aren't they?
Yes, and I think the companies that have a better culture tend to do trainings around that and give examples of helping them to better articulate and sell.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you don't realize it. Just like Rich would not realize it, but you've been contradicting yourself. You said the problem with technical hiring managers is they don't focus on the candidate. They focus on themselves. I said, well, that's important that they focus on their own experience and why it's good to work there from their own point of view. I said, don't you agree? You said, yes, you do. I said, well, then what are you complaining about it for? And you wandered off into this stuff about, well, they're not trained. Well, they're doing what they should be doing. Okay, let's move on. Next question. Here's something I want to know about. Remember, you're old enough to, have some memory, Dave. Disruption. Everybody was always talking about disruption, and they were bragging, I'm a disruptor. I'm a disruptor. You don't hear that word very much anymore. Am I right about that?
Yes, I would agree with that.
So it was just a fad. Am I right? It was just a fad.
I think it was a marketing ploy.
I'm a disruptor. I got a revolution in recruiting. These morons, when I hear it, but some people buy that, okay? Just the same idiots who brag that they're disruptors, they're suckers on the other end. Hey, disruptor, that's what I want. Yeah, disruptor, because they keep hearing it. They think, it's smart when it's just stupid, okay? Gee whiz. Okay. Let me see. Okay, let me see. Tone down your call to action. Okay, think it over. You see, instead of saying, call me right now, press the button and call me, people should say something like, think it over. And if you care to have a no pressure chat, let me know. What do you think about that? I'll tell you what I think about. I think it's good. Okay. I think people don't like it when a sales rep or a recruiter is pushy. Give them a chance to suggest that you're not going to try to hustle them. What do you think about that, Dave? Do you have a comment?
I think a softer approach. My call to action would be giving them a link to my calendar and saying, hey, if you're interested in having a further chat, learning more, schedule time, here's my calendar.
Okay. Now, if they don't respond to your gentle urging in a week, would you though go back and say it again? What would you do?
So I use drip campaigns. So basically it's multiple messages to get some kind of response. Just, hey, I'm not interested. Timing's not good, whatever. Or yeah, let's chat, but in 6 months, then I just try to get a response from them. And usually it takes somewhere between 3 to 5 to get responses in my experience.
3 to 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's using different personality styles, like from the Myers-Briggs. That's how I do it. The tone, and because people process information differently and you can't say the same thing over and over. But I know like tech people like to have information that they can analyze and review and contemplate before they jump in and make decisions. So
there's a theory about lead generation on social media. Take it slow, okay? They say it's paradoxical. This is what the experts say. The more you slow down and front load, you like that word, front load, your relationship building, the more trust is built, the more giving, and the more likely a mighty close. So what they mean is, I was reading what someone wrote, what they mean there is, if you don't try to close right away, you post a lot on social media, try to get people to know you first, and that's building, front loading the relationship, and only later on down the road do you ask somebody to consider a proposition. Well, I think that can be delayed too long. A recruiter can't wait. Yeah, you could be doing that in parallel, have your postings, let the community get to know you. But if you need somebody now, don't hesitate to call, even if they haven't got a clue who you are. You want to comment on that?
I agree with the front loading process and building trust. I think that's going to have a lot more beneficial relationships, and it's going to make your job a lot easier. Plus, it's also not going to create a ridiculous amount of work for you that you won't be able to handle on the front end.
Yeah. What about when you need to hire somebody now? Are you going to hold that off until you've done a lot of front loading?
Well, it depends on what I was hiring for. I would probably still reach out to people. But as far as like what I'm interpreting what you're saying is basically building it and branding it that way, as opposed to reaching out directly and saying, hey, animal, here's a job.
Well, you're wrong. You have to reach out and say, hey, animal, here's a job. And if you're lucky, you've been, posting for a while, and I've seen it, and I say, oh yeah, I know you, Dave. Yeah. I've got time to talk to David M Marr. You've been posting all those jobs for other people's. You've been providing a real service for the recruiting community. I know you're a nice guy. So let's refer to that. David M Marr, this is a drought of recruiting jobs right now. There's a lot of recruiters who don't have jobs, corporate recruiters who got busted, okay? And so what Dave has been doing is compiling lists of jobs that are available and posting them on LinkedIn. Am I right about that, Dave? Yes or no?
Yes, it started with me doing it for myself and then former colleagues, and then there was just so many companies and so many people that were impacted that I couldn't not share.
I didn't ask you to give the details now. Okay, now I have a follow-up question. Okay, the follow-up question is that building any relationships for you that are going to be useful in the future?
I believe so.
Do you have any signs, or you're just guessing?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been told by multiple people that they've interviewed, and I have at least one person for sure that said that they landed a job through my lists. So.
Okay, but that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about your wider spread reach. Hey, 1,000 people know me. 1,000 people know me. So when I phone them, they're gonna accept my call. Do you have that sense that yes you've got a good brand now, a widespread, high-profile brand?
Yes.
Okay, and is it a guess, or do you have any indicators more than 3 or 4 feedbacks?
People are connecting with me at, I probably have at least, every time I send it out, probably I get about 40 plus connection requests over the course of a few days afterward. I've got people engaging me, asking me to help them in a variety of different ways, asking for my opinion, for tips.
Okay, so yeah, I'd say so.
People sharing leads with me that I'm sharing. Basically, it's like a collective to help everybody. So
okay, I want to point that out to people. You see how I had to drag that out of them? Okay, that's what happens when you're talking to people. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. The answer was there. He's a smart guy, but he didn't give it to me. Okay. So maybe he's like a tech hiring manager. Okay. Anyway, here's a tip, another social media tip. This guy, I don't know if people like me mentioning their names, Sean Hervey. He's a funny guy. He's a recruiter. And I don't know if he actually said this. I think just like Rich, he would say, oh, that's not what I said, recruiting animal. this is what I understood him to say. When you're researching a company, check and see if the CEO has been on any podcasts, because you'll learn a lot about the company by listening to her or him. If they, talk for 15 minutes or 30 minutes or even an hour about themselves and the firm. Do you think that's a good idea? I never even thought of it in the past. What do you think?
I would say beyond even the CEO, I would say senior leadership. Look for any kind of podcasts or presentations that you can find for them, or videos on YouTube, for example. I do think it's a great idea.
How's my mic? Can you hear the word? I have a fan right beside me. Can you hear that, or is it silent?
I cannot hear the fan.
Thank you very much. Okay, I've resisted. We have had a cool summer. I've resisted putting my air conditioner in my office, so it's hot this week. This is the hottest week of the summer. Okay, so anyway, let me just say something else. Okay, yeah, I screwed it up for myself. Okay, yeah. What do you think about this? When a recruiter, here's somebody who said, when I quoted them, this person said, no, that's not what I said. It was Adam Gordon. I pretty well summarized what he said, and he came right back and said, nope, that's not what I said. So I deleted my posting, and I just posted it on my own. Here it is, David M. Marr. When a recruiter doesn't work for a big brand, her emails get no respect. I think that makes perfect sense. If you're, if you see Amazon, we've talked about it so many times. If somebody sees a name they're familiar with, okay, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, okay, I think they're going to feel maybe a little thrill in their hearts and at least some confidence that it's a decent company, and see what the recruiter has to say. Whereas if it's for, Bottle Caps Incorporated, they might not look. Even in Bottle Caps Incorporated is a nice company name. At least it tells you what they're up to. If it's just some kind of who knows what in the suffix of the email, I don't think you're going to get any attention necessarily. What do you think about that, David M. Marr?
I think I'm just going to speak from the tech perspective because that's what I can speak the most to. So not all big brands necessarily are appealing to tech talent. There is a certain percentage of the workforce that likes startup environments or smaller growing companies because they get to wear more hats and do more things. And larger companies tend to silo the work, and that is not as appealing to more entrepreneurial type builder technical people. So I think that if you work for a small company, you have to make sure that you are telling your story and what your product is trying to solve.
We didn't even get to that. We're just talking about your emails. They won't even open your emails if they don't recognize the company name. What do you think?
So your subject line, if you use a good subject line, they can open your email. And if you craft your email well, they'll understand, oh, okay, this is a recruiter. They're contacting me from this startup company. This is what the startup company does. Here's the details about the financial aspects of it. Here's the type of role and what they're looking to attract. And then, here's data I can analyze. And if I'm interested, here's the call to action.
Okay. In the subject line, what could you use that's going to say, this is a startup and it's going to be interesting to read? And the people who are interested in the startup jobs will open that. What's the subject going?
I would say Series B VC funded startup looking to revolutionize the way healthcare information is processed.
In the subject line, isn't that a little long?
Something simple. I would summarize it, but I'm just giving you my off the top of my head.
And you used that hack word we just ridiculed a few minutes ago, revolutionize. You might as well say disrupt, okay?
Yeah, okay, disruptor. Yeah. Seeking a engineering disruptor.
Yeah, okay. How does this sound? A good boss is happy to see you go. I love it. I made that up after reading somebody's article. A good boss is happy to see you go. What it means is that if you have a good boss and you get recruited by another company, she's not going to be bitter. She's going to, even if she is bitter, she's going to fake it. She's going to pat you on the back and say, I'm really glad you found something that's going to further your career. I wish you the very best. If you ever want to come back, don't hesitate to give me a call. Stay in touch. I'm happy to hear from you. Thanks for working for us so far. Would you agree then that a good boss is happy to see you go?
Yes, because if they've invested in you and you've grown to the point where you can utilize your skills in a bigger capacity, you're continuing to grow. Some of the best leaders I've had have basically prepared their team to basically take over their role. And as they got recruited themselves, their team rose up. And it's cyclical. So they're happy to see people again growing their careers. And I have at least 3 coworkers or former coworkers that basically, when we were all impacted, went back to their previous employers using that same basic open door that you mentioned.
Okay, yeah, okay, but here's the thing. Thomas Shimoro Premuzic, I don't know if that's the right way to say his name. I read him. He's a great writer. I really think he's a very good writer. And he says that emotional quotient, EQ, emotional intelligence is really just being able to fake your real, fake your feelings, your expression. If you've got important staff members leaving in the middle of a project when you need them, you're not going to be happy about it. Okay. So he's saying that if you show your emotional intelligence, you're going to be able to fake it, even though you're angry and upset. Okay. I disagree. I think there really is such a thing as emotional intelligence. You don't misinterpret when negative things happen. You don't exaggerate them. You don't get as upset as other people who, freak out. Okay. What do you think? Do you think there's such a thing as emotional intelligence, or is it mainly the responsibility of a good manager to fake good humor and happiness when she or he is very bitter?
I think emotional intelligence is very important, and especially in today's society where you have such diverse workforces. So I think that when people are fake or disingenuine, that people pick up on that.
No, disingenuous, okay? And
disingenuous, there you go.
Oh, so would you rather that they express their feelings? You bastard, okay? I'm in the middle of this project and I need you, and you're screwing off to some other company for a few more dollars? Is that what you want them to say? Okay, because Thomas Shimoro Premuzic also says something that's common sense, and I was saying it long before. I don't have a PhD like he does in psychology or human resources or whatever, and it's this. People don't want to hear your authentic self. They want you to act in a civil manner, no matter what you're feeling, okay? So are you telling me the opposite, that people won't like it if you are fake? No, you have to be fake. A good manager is fake, okay? People who are nice are fake. You want to reply to that?
I think it depends on the person.
I don't understand what you're saying. What do you mean it depends on the person?
There are certain people that are absolutely fake, but then there's people that are nice that aren't going to say, oh, you screwed me over in the project. Those types of people, if you're an asshole, then you should be fake. Yes. Okay. But if you're an average person that you have respect with your team and you have rapport built with them, to give them your feeling, hey, sorry to see you go. It was great working with you.
Okay. Here's the problem. I think we have different ideas of what the average person is. Maybe you're much nicer than me, but there's a lot of feelings I have that I'm better off if I don't express them. Okay. And to just put it bluntly, yeah, you got to fake it. And if you don't, and people want you to fake it. And if you don't fake it, and if you have these explosions when you feel them, they're going to hate your guts and also think you're an idiot, because proper behavior means that you do control yourself. It's just like toilet training, okay? You don't go when you feel like it.
I would use those analogies.
Yeah, I would. It's quite to the point.
Well, it depends. You could always be wearing,
Yeah, diaper. Yeah, we're not that old yet. We're not that old, okay? Okay. How does this sound? I think this came from Mario, even just maybe last week. he's not here today, Mario Karth. He says a company that makes a counteroffer sucks. Would you say that's true?
From his perspective, absolutely. When you're an agency,
From his perspective, yeah.
yeah.
No, what recruiters mean when they say that is it sucks for the person, for the candidate that they're making an offer to. There's something wrong with that company if they have to make a counteroffer. They have to try to kiss the person's ass at the last minute when they're losing them. Oh, honey, come back.
You should be preparing your candidates to expect a counteroffer. And
that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, that's
okay,
what I'm saying.
Okay, should you be? Well, that's not the question I'm asking you. Should you be telling your candidates, look, if they make a counteroffer, that just proves they suck, and you're making the right move, okay? Because that's what Mario said. A company that makes a counteroffer sucks. Okay, that's what you're saying. Counteroffers.
The last part of what you said.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, he won't repeat it. Okay, because he wants to stay vague. He doesn't want me to catch him up on another contradiction. Okay. Oh boy. What about this? Well, I don't know. Do you have something you want to talk about?
I just come for dinner.
Okay, no, okay. You just come. Okay, you didn't even know that I was going to ask you a lot of questions, and it's okay. You don't have to answer. You can just say, "Look, Animal, I want to do some work while you talk," and that's fine with me. Or if you say, "Look, I want to leave already," and then you got me stuck here by giving me all these questions, feel free. Okay. Feel free. I don't care. It's nice having you, but I want you to feel, Dave, just like if you were getting lured away by another show, feel free. You can leave in the middle of this show, and I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to wish you well. And I'm going to say, feel free to come back whenever you want, no matter how I feel. But you know what? I really don't mind. So don't worry about it. Okay. So, but because I was thinking today, there was nobody came at the right time. So I was thinking, you know what? I'll just experiment with handling these things myself. Here's something though that relates to what you were talking about with your email sequences, that you send at least 5 messages if you don't get a reply. You don't have to answer this, but this person said, only call people who should be interested in you. Qualify the people that you've got on your target list. Make sure you're not calling everybody, only those you think really should have an interest in you. But here's what he says. He said, but then be prepared to push them to speak with you. I found that very dramatic. Take it easy. You don't have to go nuts and go after everybody. But when you find the right people, go nuts. Don't give up. Push, push, push until you get them to have a conversation. I find that an intriguing, dramatic way of putting things. Do you want to comment on that, David M. Marr, or would you leave that to me?
I think it's important to be persistent, but you're not going to get everybody on the phone. I do think you should be focused on quality versus quantity. And if you're doing your research on the candidates that you're reaching out to properly, that you don't have to reach out to hundreds of candidates. You may have 10 or 20, and you should be personalized to that. And you want to get them to respond whatever manner that is. So email is one method that you should use, but I do think phone you should try, but nobody answers the phone really anymore anyway. And I think text. So I think text and personal email is in conjunction, and then the call to action would be them to schedule time, and then you call them.
Okay, but you avoided answering the real question. He said, once you've qualified yourself, you're not calling 100 people, or you're not targeting 100 people. Just like you said, 10. Don't give up on those. Push, push, push. Now, you didn't even address that. You started talking about using different platforms. Fine.
No,
then you got lost. You got lost in that.
I said to be persistent. But
what does that mean? I don't need any big answers on this show.
It means you're consistent enough with your messaging and outreach to solicit a response. Whether it's no, not right now, timing's not good, not interested, whatever.
Yeah. Is that 10 messages or 100, or is it call until one of you dies, like Tom
I would
Tuna
say
says?
5 to 7 max.
Okay.
Because if you do more than that, then you won't have a chance to go back to that candidate in the future, because you're going to be basically labeled, or they're going to see your name and they're not going to have a positive experience.
Okay. Okay. Here's something that I found very interesting. Okay. If, would you agree with me? Yes or no? Okay. I don't want you to go off in the weeds when I'm asking you a straight question, like you've got the habit of doing. Okay. Is it important when you're taking a job order, let's say you're with an agency, is it important to investigate the management style of the manager who this person is going to work for? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So theoretically, shouldn't we ask some questions about the managerial style? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now, my experience, no one ever goes through a lot of questions about the managerial style. So what I'm saying is that there should be a list of questions that you ask the person. Does that make sense to you about their managerial style? Yes. Okay. Here's the questions now. Okay. Is the manager impatient? Are you impatient? Is that a decent question to ask somebody? Yes or no?
Yes, but the wording of it, I would probably rephrase that.
How would you put it? Let's move on. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. Okay. Do you invite feedback? Yes or no? Is that a good question?
Feedback as in from
your team, from your staff, your team members.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tolerate disagreement? Is that a good question? I think these are great questions. Can you tolerate? And so you're not afraid that the hiring manager would get offended by a question like that. Can you tolerate disagreement?
I wouldn't be offended by that.
Okay. Yeah, but what if the recruiter said, well, can you tell me a time when someone disagreed with you? Is that a legitimate follow-up?
Yes.
Are you driving the hiring manager away by interviewing them?
No, because you're trying to gain understanding. Because if you
the hiring manager's got enough emotional intelligence to say, yeah, this is important. Okay. I'm going to maybe even learn something about myself by listening to this genius recruiter who's so thorough, like no other recruiter ever has been. Okay. So you like that one. What about this? Do you have a bad temper? I think that's a good question. What do you think? Yes or no?
I think it's a good surface question.
Surface question. Okay. Whatever that is. Okay. How do you handle failure?
Good question.
You like that question? Yeah. Okay. Do you blame others when things go wrong? Okay. No answer. No answer. Okay. He had no
really
answer.
Like that question.
You don't like it? Do you blame other people?
No, because that's going to tell you're going to get that. You're going to know that based upon the other questions you've been asking so far.
Maybe not. Okay. In fact, here's the thing: you might not get an honest answer. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, and do you take credit for the work of your staff, or do you acknowledge people? Do you like that?
They're never going to answer that.
These are fantastic questions. These are the best questions I've ever come across for investigating managerial style. I read an article about someone wrote about culture and what she wants to investigate, and I assimilated it and turned it into this list, which I think is terrific. Okay, just so everybody knows. The manager, you'd come, I didn't include, are you a micromanager? Okay. Now, the thing is, you have to worry about, oh, no, I'm not a micromanager. So you have to have a follow-up, So how often do you ask for a check-in on somebody's work? That's a decent follow-up for that one, isn't it, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know. So what I think managerial style is so important. The candidate really wants to know. But what you're suggesting, and I think you've got something there, even though I don't disagree, I don't agree with everything you said, but it's going to be hard to get the truth out of most of these managers. They don't have the ego strength or emotional intelligence to answer questions that might not put them in a good light or even imply that maybe they're not perfect. Okay, if you ask, listen, are you perfect? They're going to say no. Okay, but if you ask, well, what are your imperfections? It's just like, what's your greatest weakness? They're not going to answer. They're not going to answer the weakness question, even though they're already in the job. They don't have to worry. They don't have to worry about losing their job. I guess they don't want you going out and telling people. The manager says sometimes he's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think there's a lot of room for investigation of the manager's style. I don't think any recruiters ever get into it, and I think that lots of managers never get into it in the interviews, and that's why there's unpleasant surprises once people come to work, and they end up leaving because their boss is so bad. But if you've got a bad boss, see, I'm not making you talk, Dave. I'm doing a lot of work myself. If you've got a bad boss, that person's never going to answer. Those people are too arrogant to answer these questions honestly, even to tolerate those questions, rather. And that's that. Anything else you want to add to that, or you think I've covered it very well? Yes, you did, Animal. It was an act of genius recruiting, Animal. I've never heard anything like that, and I know you haven't. What do you say, Dave?
I say bollycock.
Bollycock. Okay, poppycock is what you
Poppycock.
mean. Okay, yeah.
I was going to say bollocks. I combined bollocks with that.
Yeah, well, nobody understands. We're not English here, bollocks. Okay, bollocks to you. Okay. You know what? Let me see. It's actually 1:00. Now it's time to say goodnight, even though it's only lunchtime. Any parting words? David M. Marr, are you still in the job hunt mode?
I am doing consulting right now.
But will you entertain good
Full-time
positions?
offers.
Okay. And his name is David Marr, M-A-R-R, on LinkedIn. Ernie, who doesn't come to the show anymore, but is a great recruiter, endorsed Dave. Okay. He's had lots of in-depth conversations. He's picked his brain. Okay. And he says, Dave is somebody, he's a contender. David, thank you very much for coming to the show. And I'll see everybody next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.